welcome to the Ope-Eh three-way pro wrestling podcast. I'm all out of beer, but I got you boys. Donnie Pierce, how we doing?
We're doing.
We're doing. It's been a long day, but I'm ready to chop it up with the boys.
Hell yeah.
Hey, but look at the bright side. Literally, look at the bright side. We're saving daylight now, eh? Well, at least me and Pierce are. I don't know what you're doing there, Don. You got that?
Yeah. We do the thing. My sleeps have been fucking miserable all week, though, as a result of it. So, it's just a certain kind of fuckery that daylight savings time does to you.
Yeah.
It fucked me up Monday big time.
Yeah.
But we're here now. We're doing well as we can. It's been a real good week for the cast. It's been a real good week personally for me, but it's just been a long week.
Why has it been a good week for the cast?
Well, I don't know. Maybe because on our social media, specifically Twitter, we have a new follower, Mr. Karrion Cross.
Hey.
To the Ope three-way, Karrion. You're welcome to come on the show whenever you'd like.
Hell yeah.
And please bring your Jesse Ventura impressions. All of them.
Please. And if you like, you can bring Scarlett if she's interested.
Hey. Something to consider.
And if you want to be as cool as Karrion, follow us on social media. X, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube. Hey, Donnie, is there something else pretty cool on YouTube?
Oh, hell yeah. So we finally have every single podcast live now on YouTube. Check it out. All 30 episodes. We're now on episode 31. So all 30 episodes are live on the old
I prayed for this and it happened.
Hell yeah, we did. And on a go forward, we'll be uploading same day both on Spotify and YouTube. So if that's your preferred consumption method because you pay for YouTube Premium instead of Spotify Premium, then head over to the old YouTubes and follow us real time there too.
Yeah, get down some YouTubery. Thanks for doing that, Don. That was a labor of love there. Appreciate you.
Yeah, it's funny because initially we talked about doing it because the old TikTok machine was going to go away, but that never happened. Anyways, it's all good. We got some stuff up there now. We got all our stuff up there now. We still got
in America. It did happen. It was just for about 8 hours.
Just like
any I prayed for it and it didn't happen.
Just like almost every other decision that happens over there, eh?
Oh yeah, here we go.
You set it up.
Keep it chirping.
You set it up, I knock it down. But
strategery.
No, Bonnie, why don't you set something else up? Knock it down because it's time. We got a short on this day, guys. We're gonna go back to 2000. The final ECW Living Dangerously pay-per-view takes place in Danbury, Connecticut. Super crazy Pin Rhino. What was that, Brandon?
Nothing. I like the sound of that town.
I've never heard of the Living Dangerously pay-per-view.
It was one of their bigger pay-per-views, if I remember correctly. I mean, ECW was not on pay-per-view for too long. They only started doing pay-per-views in, I believe, 97. Okay. So they only did pay-per-view for about 4 years, and then a one-off in WWE, which we will not talk about. Super crazy.
Which one aren't we talking about?
We've got quite a couple.
We're not talking about December to Dismember 2006.
Oh no, I thought. What about One Night Stand?
Those don't. Well, those. That's a different story.
Okay, because that was.
Is it though? Yeah, then we're all right.
They were great until 2007.
All right.
Right. So 2 of them were great.
We'll go back 7 years. When Super Crazy pinned Rhino to win the ECW World Television Championship, it was vacated by Rob Van Dam after he had broken his foot. And so they had a tournament, and Super Crazy would win the tournament. And in the main event,
super.
Mike Awesome retained the world title against Kid Cash. I would not have thought he had a world title match ever. So, good for Kid Cash.
Yeah, every dog gets their day.
Mike Awesome's had a weird career. I was watching a clip a couple days ago where he put Hogan through a table. Like nobody ever did that, but Mike Awesome did.
Mike Awesome was awesome. Rest in
Yeah.
peace.
Had that hardcore shtick in WCW there right around the die-in days, but
and then
yeah,
he was
shame.
that Chick Thriller, and then he was that 70s guy, WCW in 2000, 2001. Oh, that's so bad. And he had a fucking belter of a match from the 2005 ECW One Night Stand with Masato Tanaka. That match fucking rules.
They remembered they had to still murder each other about 5 years after their last match or what have you.
They
Right
did.
where they left off.
The people, so I'm going to go off the beaten path a little bit. I know Donnie may get a little mad, but
Go ahead.
So for those who don't know, in the year of 2000, ECW was not doing well. Mike Awesome was not getting paid, and while he was the ECW champion, he actually signed a contract and went to WCW while ECW champion. In a cool thing of wrestling history, Mike Awesome would then drop the ECW title to Taz, who at the time was a WWE wrestler on an ECW house show.
Interesting.
So a WCW wrestler lost the ECW title to a WWE wrestler who then was beaten by Tommy Dreamer real quick after that.
The true forbidden door.
Yeah, and when in
Some forbidden was going
2005,
on.
when he came out to ECW One Night Stand, the ECW faithful booed the shit out of him, and then he had his match, and people were like, "Oh, we don't care anymore. That was awesome."
They call him Mike Awesome for a reason. I get it.
But we'll jump ahead to 2016. WWE Roadblock takes place from Toronto, Canada.
Hell yeah, I did not go to that event.
I mean, it was essentially just a glorified house show that they then just made an event and put live. Charlotte Flair would retain the Divas Championship against Natalya in the final defense of the title before it was retired at Mania 32.
Okay.
In the main event, Triple H would retain the WWE Championship against Dean Ambrose in a match that Dean Ambrose should have won.
Actually, not a bad match, and we may have our criticisms of his current body of work. I would say all of us do, but that was actually...
Spoiler.
So Donnie got a little hot under the collar there. Sorry to
part of the episode.
Sorry to show your hands for you there, Don.
Spoiling part of the episode, Brandon. You gotta.
Sorry. Oh, okay.
Reel it back.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Great match by Dean Ambrose.
Great match from both of them. It was Triple H's best match in quite a while, but Dean Ambrose should have won. Triple H versus Roman Reigns is up there with the worst Mania main events ever, if not the worst.
Yeah, we were talking about that.
Hell of an entrance.
Not for any particular reason. We were talking about bad main events, but that's like a top 5. I don't know if that's like the worst main event.
I put it top 3. It is so bad.
It's pretty bad, but
it is 32 minutes of boring. The only thing that people will remember from that entire match is Stephanie McMahon taking a spear.
Well, and that sick ass entrance too.
It wasn't. It was not even that good. It was just Triple H like, "Hey, look how cool I am with my cool entrance," which he does every year, and none of the entrances are cool. He's had exactly one cool entrance that I would say, which was Mania 30.
Actually,
that sounds like big energy, but which one?
It was Stephanie McMahon saying he was a cool guy. Look at my husband's cool entrance with his skeleton army.
It doesn't help your argument there.
Giving the Rita Repulsa vibes. Come on.
Yeah,
Mighty Morphin Power Rangers.
His WrestleMania 30 entrance was pretty good, and interestingly enough, the talent that was involved in that entrance was notable. So, yeah, you always had nice entrances though. Like I don't know why we're getting worked up about them. I mean, he's the game.
It's more like, hey, look how cool I am, and then he comes out on a bicycle that's way too big.
Badass. That's the word you're looking for.
Yeah, that's.
Okay, we're gonna skip ahead to 2018.
The game.
And we're gonna stop talking about
Motorhead.
Future Hall of Famer Triple H. We'll talk about future Hall of Famer Roman Reigns. Roman is suspended on the way to WrestleMania by Vince. Don't know if you guys remember this. This is on the way to the second Brock match, and Brock's not showing up ever. So Roman is now the voice of the people, which people don't want. And then he went to Gorilla and called out Vince. He's like, how come you don't respect me? How come you don't respect me? And then Vince suspends him in kayfabe. If you can believe it, this did not get Roman over at all with fans.
In a manner of phrasing of Roman here, I can say that I definitely believed that, Pierce.
No pop.
No pop at all.
No pop.
In the main event, Braun Strowman would win a tag team battle royal for the number one contendership for the tag team titles by himself, burying the entire Raw tag division on the way to WrestleMania, where he would win the tag team titles with a 10-year-old.
Nicholas, we're not hating on Nicholas on this podcast, okay?
Look,
that's a future WWE champion you're talking about there, Pierce.
Brand.
He's in the Performance Center right now.
Takes again. Is he going to beat R-Truth for the fucking title?
Watch. No, just watch. You'll see the Remember Him segments coming up on NXT or Evolve there. And, I'll be around to say I told you so, but, I ain't gonna rub it in your face.
That'll be one of the many I told you so's you'll never say to me or Donnie.
Oh, I got a list, so I'm checking it twice, too.
Easy there, St. Nicholas.
Hey. Oh, that's cute. I see what you did there.
Finally, we're going to give a couple happy birthdays. Happy birthday to Kenta. Happy birthday.
Penta or Kenta?
Was that Penta or Kenta?
Kenta. We said happy birthday to Penta last week, I think.
Okay.
Oh, Lord, that's too close.
Kenta.
Can't have two guys. Two guys with those close names.
I'm not gonna call him Hideo Itami.
They gotta figure that out to switch their birthdays or something. Move it around a little bit so we don't go back to back every year.
Yeah, get my eyes crossed on it. Look at a calendar there.
Donnie, I don't think that's possible. So
anything is possible in the world of pro wrestling, Pierce.
Whatever you say, Kevin Garnett.
If there's one thing I think we can be certain of, it's that Penta will change his name. I think he's gone through enough of those where we can safely not rule that out.
Well, how about we give a happy birthday to Little Guido?
Happy birthday, Little Guido. Jesus Christ.
Okay, Nunzio. The man could get the shit kicked out of him like no other.
Oh, man, I just think back to when he was on NXT a couple months back. Oh, boy.
And you're like, what was the point? It's the same point he always comes out. He gets the shit kicked out.
Oh, my goodness.
And he still does the fucking cross. It's great.
The heart of a lion, I'll tell you that.
And then happy birthday to we got a big one for a happy. I mean, Kenta is pretty big. Little Guido is a little less big, but because he's little. But I'd say this is probably one of the bigger happy birthdays that we've done.
Wow.
To a true pioneer in women's wrestling and comedy wrestling, for that matter, for her work in the 90s. Mae Young, happy birthday. We miss you so much. You could say Mae Young. I mean, she's a pioneer for women's wrestling, is she not?
I mean, no, I can't. Well, she's got a tournament named after her. I will give her that.
She wrestled.
But of course, they couldn't. They certainly couldn't name anything after Moolah.
For 8 decades.
True.
She was. I mean, Moolah was big for what she did for the wrestlers, and it turned out she was not nice.
Yeah, Moolah
was absolutely
not okay.
No.
But Mae Young started wrestling in the 1930s and became a star and stayed relevant and still got huge pops in the 2010s. It was due to her work in the Attitude Era, but she was willing to do anything to help people. She took a power bomb in her 70s from Bubba Ray.
That was crazy. for what it's worth. That was crazy. I just like my fandom of wrestling and like her association to that time of fandom is just like it was not
You see,
entertaining. So that's why it's you got a little bit of a scattered reaction from me at the very least. Like those segments always felt uncomfortable with her.
yeah,
But
but
hey,
she
it
as a professional as a woman in the professional wrestling, she's a true pioneer.
True. True.
and it just goes to show, boys, it's never too late in life to have that one defining moment. Or in Mae Young's case, several, i.e., getting powerbombed through tables and giving birth to hands. And
Yeah.
right,
God.
but hey,
Happy birthday.
this is what puts you in the hall. Happy birthday.
But you know, Mae Young, pioneer. Some could say she could have possibly started a revolution.
Oh God.
Mae Young, they say that about Mae Young.
I needed a good segue. Screw up. It worked.
Oh well.
AEW
Anyway.
Revolution happened Sunday.
It sure
It was-
did. It
It
sure
was a
did.
show.
Yeah.
It was quite the show.
AEW Revolution took place at the Crypto.com Arena in downtown Los Angeles, California. I believe is that the first ever AEW show at the Crypto.com Arena?
I believe it might be the first show in LA in general. I feel like they've done California, but I don't know
No,
if
I
they've
think
done LA.
they've done like the Honda Center, which I mean, it depends on how technical you want to be about LA, but like Inglewood or whatever. Like I think this is the first one.
LA. I know rappers may think it is, but it technically is not.
Yeah, but that's like saying like, to anybody who's listening from the Greater Toronto area, that's like saying Markham isn't Toronto when it very clearly is, because Markham doesn't have a mayor, and I don't think Inglewood has a mayor either. But nevertheless,
Yeah, I mean, shows in Waukesha can't claim they're from Milwaukee either, you know.
mm.
And thankfully, because yeah. Anyway,
AEW Revolution, Crypto.com Arena in LA. It was also the first ever AEW pay-per-view to stream on Amazon Prime. Obviously not free. You had to pay for the pay-per-view, but a more accessible platform for sure. So much so that I was able to get it on my certainly legal IPTV feed. Definitely legal.
I, like a good American, streamed it on Amazon Prime. And also, like a good American, I forgot about something. I had a $50 gift card in my Amazon, so I got the pay-per-view for a crisp $2 bill.
Nice.
So
that was old Thomas Jefferson.
That was a quite the shock. I was like, why the hell does this only cost me $2? Oh yeah,
that's a nice little surprise. And luckily,
I mean, I'm quite happy I bought that pay-per-view because it was.
Yeah, luckily the show didn't let you down in that sense. Pretty strongly reviewed show. We'll get into each match in just a little bit. Yeah, I mean, top to bottom going into this card, we talked about it last week quickly, but we knew there was going to be some strong matches on this show. And
I don't think we thought it was going to be as strong as it was, though, because they knocked it out of the park until the end.
Wow. Well, we'll cover that right now with starting with the pre-show. 3 matches on the pre-show. We'll blaze through these real quick. Commander and Hologram defeated Lee Johnson and Blake Christian. Do you want to comment on each of these as I go, or am I going to power through these?
I watched it, and we could talk about the little angle match that they did too.
Okay, do you have a comment on Commander and Hologram winning?
I mean, right winners. That was my first time watching Hologram wrestle, and he's pretty fun. Commander is great, so I mean, right winners.
All right. Daniel Garcia and the Undisputed Kingdom of Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, and Kyle O'Reilly beat Shane Taylor Promotions of Shane Taylor, Carly Bravo, Lee Moriarty, and Captain Sean Dean.
Man, I don't know how they could fumble. Well, I mean, I know that how they could, but Daniel Garcia was, this killer, and now they got him dancing again. I don't get it. And
That
it
was
pains
where
me.
he was always destined to be. That's where he got the biggest pops. And
It pains me that Adam Cole is getting such a huge reaction. He's on the pre-show. It seems like they're leaning into Garcia versus Cole. I'm all for it. That'll be a banger match.
yeah, Adam
Well,
Cole
and you
on
think about
pre-show is a crime.
it too. Like Toni Storm, even though it was gimmicked, right? She was on the pre-show herself too, and then look how quickly that flipped. So it could
That
only be a matter of time.
that's different because that was a storyline.
Sure.
Adam Cole has no right to be on a pre-show ever.
Maybe they're
Or
just
the
trying to
TNT
make sure his
champion.
wheels hold up.
Mhm.
They got him wrestling multi-man matches. He just came back from an injury not that long ago. So maybe they just want to make sure his wheels are holding up in the long term and he stays consistent, and then he's good to go.
It's valid.
We'll see.
And in the last match of the pre-show, Big Boom AJ and the conglomeration of Orange Cassidy and Mark Briscoe defeated Johnny TV and MXM collection of Mansoor and Mason Madden.
I mean, it did what it needed to.
Did it?
Mansoor had a really fun moment where he slapped the cookie out of the Rizzler's hands and said, "I'm diet."
Legendary.
Can't believe that's a sentence that came out of my mouth. But yeah, it did what it needed to do. It popped the crowd. And Big Boom AJ is very good for PR for AEW because he talks about them such a huge green light for them. You know what I mean?
Yeah, as long as he's
Easy
not holding a
upgrade.
WWE title while doing it.
I mean,
That's
so
something
what?
he's.
Who cares? He's a social media star. He can do what he wants.
No, don't tell Tony
Was this
Khan.
a recent?
It was
Was
like
this
a
a
month.
recent
It was like a
development for
month
him?
ago where he had I don't know if it was an interview or something, but he was holding the WWE belt, and obviously there was some discussion about that online. So like
Yeah.
everything.
I remember. Oh fuck! I signed a contract.
Yeah, a little
Oh, well.
Ope moment there. Yeah, he probably got a phone call.
Indeed, but who really cares?
Yeah,
You
he
know
got
what
a
I
phone
mean?
call from Tony on that one.
ICW. The Internet Wrestling IWC is bitching about something. Oh, shocking. I'm sure JD from NY also screamed about it in one of his stupid scrums that he does.
One of his little 3-paragraph diatribes that he gets his check marks for. Unlimited bitching.
Maybe I need one of these check marks. I like the idea of
Maybe there's something
bitching.
to it.
Whoa. First of all, let's get me a check mark for our podcast thing because my tweeting is on another level, apparently.
Wow.
Yeah, you're on a little bit of fire there.
I just like starting fights on. I just like starting fights on social media. That's why I don't use our Ope-Eh too much.
Yeah, but I use it the most, and that's probably for the best. It seems like so.
Getting into the main card, kicked off the show with Hangman Adam Page defeating MJF in 19 minutes.
Man, we were all wrong on the winner on this. This match was great. I loved the story going into it. The pre-match, they did a pre-match video package for each of them. They paid a little money. MJF says "Bullet with a Name," and they brought back that song from SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, which is an absolute banger of a video game and had a banger soundtrack, including "Bullet with a Name." And man, that just brought back some nostalgia for me.
Emblematic 2000s butt rock right there. Some non-point. Come on now.
And the story going into this was, MJF's happy being the bad guy. Hangman's, like I've said, is the main character of AEW. These guys are both great wrestlers. They showed up, showed out. But near the end of the match, there was a spot where MJF hits a tombstone on a chair, and the chair doesn't fold.
Yeah,
And
it was very stiff.
and Hangman beats the count at 9. MJF's like, how come it's you? How come they love you and not me? And that's where like I thought this was gonna be, the sleeper match that could be match of the night because of the MJF character. And the MJF character is one of the most layered and fun and cool in wrestling because he's this asshole, but all he wants is just the admiration of the crowd. That's all he wanted. That's all he ever wants.
He probably didn't get the admiration of the Undertaker in that spot.
He didn't get the admiration of Bully Ray, but who gives a shit what they think? If they think they had a good match, that's really what matters. And if the fans think that's what matters. That led to the finish with a Deadeye, the most brutal angel wings I've ever seen. Jesus
right
Christ.
On the face.
All on the head. And then
completely pancaked.
Buckshot and a 3 count. This is a great match. Great way to start the show.
Yeah, I'm going to expect they'll be running it back, whether that be at the next PLE, I guess, or pay-per-view. Is it Dynasty or Double or Nothing?
Dynasty is next.
Yeah, Dynasty's next. Okay. Yeah, so I figure they'll probably run it back at one of those two events, if not both. There's still gas in the tank there for sure.
As long as Max doesn't have a fucking concussion.
Wow.
Jesus Christ, he took that all on the head.
If you need someone to do a little softening up of Hangman and Page, is a slight tangent. One Alexander Hammerstone is a free agent now. And if we're going into Dynasty, which you may or may not know was the name of MJF's former stable and MLW, comprised of Richard Holiday and one Alexander Hammerstone, then who's to say? Might get a little backup there.
I'll agree to disagree on that because when MJF is given a group in AEW, it does not go well, unfortunately. Remember the Firm?
Shout out Wardlow.
Yeah, shout out Wardlow.
Yeah, get well soon, come back soon, please, for the love of God. But I don't know. I think a Dynasty run in AEW would be pretty interesting, assuming they can get Richard Holiday too. But Hammerstone, I could definitely see making a jump.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll see. The stars align for it.
Next up, we've got for the AEW TBS Championship, Mercedes Moné once again successfully defended by defeating Momo Watanabe in about 18 and a half minutes.
This match fucking ruled.
The first bit of it was a bit rough.
And I should have said something because like I said, if you've never seen Momo, you're in for a treat. After it got going, the fans in LA did not really give a shit. But then the match happened, and she won the fans over.
Yeah, the second half of the match was quite strong, and the ending sequence was also good for a Mercedes Moné recency bias consideration. But that first half was a bit slow, and that's probably why you were getting the limited reactions at the beginning of the match.
And then it happened. And then she turned the crowd, and then she hit her with some stiff kicks, and it did not look like I wouldn't want to take those kicks. But yeah, the two women showed out. Monet gets rightfully criticized for her character work. Her matches are usually pretty goddamn good. So,
yeah.
I think that's one of the easy things to forget too with her run outside of WWE is like it's been a lot of shit flinging from her, and it's been a lot of ego rub, and there's been some times where she really like hasn't been terrific as much in the ring. Definitely hasn't been as terrific on the stick, but against the right opponent, she can definitely show out. Like she didn't have a banger against Bayley all those years ago for no reason. It wasn't just a one-woman show on that, being Bayley.
Nope.
When is she going to go against Athena? That's what I want to know.
Brandon, it's not going to happen.
She's the belt collector, dude.
Neither
belts
of
are not.
neither of them
Stop
are allowed
bringing
to
ROH into this. It's not happening.
Well, if I can bring Rev Pro into it, if she can bring Rev Pro and New Japan Strong and whatever the Queen of Southside fucking means anymore,
both of those are more important to the wrestling world than Ring of Honor.
Athena is the longest reigning Ring of Honor champion in the company's history.
That doesn't mean shit when they don't give a shit about Ring of Honor.
They maybe want to give a shit about Ring of Honor if they give the belt to Monet.
Hey, real quick,
we thought about that?
You're advocating. Hold on, you're advocating for Mercedes Moné to get more titles. Did I just hear that
I'm
right?
not necessarily I'm not advocating in a personal sense. However, I'm just saying if they want to maybe put an eye in the direction of Ring of Honor, Mercedes Moné.
How many years ago did Tony Khan buy Ring of Honor?
What was it? 2022?
3 years ago.
Thereabout.
March of 2022. It is basically 3 years ago to the day, more or less.
Yeah.
And what has he done with it?
He bought, and what has happened with that promotion in those 3 years?
And also, who did Momo pin to get her title shot?
Athena, right. That's part of my point too.
That the person that Mercedes beat should, or the person that Mercedes beat should then get a title match.
Wrestling math means Mercedes would beat Athena. It's as simple as that.
Right. Mercedes beat Momo. Momo beat Athena. Therefore, Mercedes would beat Athena. Probably.
End of discussion. Let's go on to the next match because the next match was also a banger.
That match was Sir Strickland defeating Ricochet to become the number one contender for the AEW World Championship in 18 minutes.
This match fucked. Holy crap.
Both very good talents in the ring.
And Ricochet's character work since joining AEW has been quite good. His heel turn has worked out in spades. The little bit of story with what they did in this match was really good. You know, Ricochet altered the jacket, which obviously huge heat for that. The little bit of Nana getting pushed and him being like, I'm done. Walking out on Swerve, and then him coming back and stealing the jacket. Swerve took two of the craziest bumps I've ever seen. He took a reverse Rana on his head, on the apron, squarely on the side of his head. And then there was this dive through the middle ropes that Ricochet just caught him and then turned it into a Death Valley driver, and it just looked terrible. It just looked so dangerous, but they pulled it off. And the right guy won, and Swerve's now the number one contender, and hopefully he wins the title at Dynasty.
Keep dreaming.
We'll get to it in the main event.
Yeah, keep dreaming.
But yeah, this match was damn good.
I don't know why there were so many people speculating that Samantha Irvin would be part of this match.
If she doesn't want to come to AEW, which Ricochet said online she doesn't, stop fantasy booking this shit.
Yeah. I saw a lot of that going into this match, and I was like, why?
Yeah, there's not a single thing she could do in AEW that she couldn't do 2 or 3 times better in WWE.
Well, apparently not necessarily, because she wasn't allowed to be a manager or have an in-ring contribution.
Well, yeah. I couldn't believe she'd be a worthwhile manager in AEW. I don't think they would use her to effect in that role, in that promotion.
If she can make people feel with her announcing, I think she could be an effective manager. You have to be able to to be an orator to announce. So if you can use that to build a match from the beginning, just right away, be like, damn, she's a good announcer. Why couldn't she be a great manager? You know what I mean?
I think she could be too. I just don't think she would
She doesn't
want to
want to.
burn her bridge, because that was a very sudden departure for what was told to everybody as a music career move. To then just do that, don't know how well that would go over. But
Let's just let her live her life.
yeah,
And if she
just let her
wants to
do
come
her
to
thing.
AEW,
If she wants to appear at
great.
wrestling stuff, great. If she doesn't want to, great. Like, can we stop fantasy booking people who don't work there?
That's fair.
The next match was for the AEW Continental Championship, and Kazuchika Okada successfully defended by defeating Brody King in 11 minutes.
Yeah, this match was good. Brody got in a lot more offense than I thought, but they kind of just peppered each other. It was just some good meat slapping, and I like that Okada wins. The only person to kick out currently of the Rainmaker in AEW is Buddy Matthews, which is surprising. But I like the Rainmaker being a true blue finish along with the One Wing Angel, of course. But like, if he hits one, you're dead. That's just how it is. I like that. That's kind of been the Rainmaker for the most part. 5 people in New Japan, and now only 1 in AEW. So let's just keep it that way until the eventual Texas All-In match with somebody we'll talk about in a little bit here.
Brandon, anything to add?
Yeah, no, I thought it was a great match. I thought it was great to see Okada roll around with a guy who, frankly, I don't think Okada's ever been in the ring with anyone like Brody King before. And you said it too, Pierce. Brody King is a pretty unique individual unto himself. I'm glad he's getting these opportunities like Buddy is getting now that they're out from underneath Malachi. And not like they suffered under him per se, but I'm very excited to see what comes around for both of these guys. I don't think they're going to be hanging around as much. I feel like it's going to be more of an association, perhaps, going forward, if they're going to roll both these guys around with Okada. But in any case, in this match, I was very sports entertained or professionally wrestled, I guess, in the case of All Elite Wrestling.
With Kazuchika Okada, you were professional wrestling.
Yeah. Yes, certainly professionally wrestled.
All right. Well, that leads us to a match that might not been so professionally wrestled, and that was the Hurt Syndicate successfully retaining their AEW World Tag Team Championships by defeating the Outrunners in 8.5 minutes.
They hurt people.
I sure did. They hurt your feelings, Pierce?
Yeah, of course. This match was not destined to be a barn burner. It was more going to be a showcase for both teams, and at a surface level, they did that. Turbo Floyd and Truth Magnum, as fun as they are not the greatest wrestlers, especially Turbo. Unfortunately, Truth is pretty good, but like Turbo still needs to get a little better.
Now, are you just saying that because he's your Twitter buddy?
This is my thing. I think they're still, they say they're the youngest men alive. I really don't know how old they are. They're still quite a new team on the block. You know what I mean? They still got room to grow, and I think eventually they could be tag team champions, but it's definitely not their time. The Hurt Syndicate are ageless wonders for real. How do both of them look that way at their age and work that well at their age? And I think the Outrunners got a lot more offense than people probably thought they would, but this match, was it good? Maybe not. I think it was meh at best. But it did what it needed to do, and it was a good just break after 4 very good matches, and just like a good come down and let's let everybody breathe, And it's like what I said about last week about All Out. That top to bottom is the best card I've ever seen, but there's still a Paul White versus QT Marshall match didn't need to happen. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think if there's going to be any weak match on the card, this probably was going to be the best one because the Outrunners, while they do have a pretty distinct cult following, if you want to call it that, I mean, we want to see what they're going to look like in tag title matches. They're over like Rover. Oh, fuck yeah.
But are they the best wrestlers? Of course not.
Especially now when you stack them up against Lashley and Benjamin. Fuck. Well, and that's why you talk about them being ageless wonders. Like, they have that high caliber amateur wrestling background, and that it's like the military too. Those practices, it's one of two ways. Like, either you blow it out or you carry that through your life and you're ripped well into your 60s. Like, it's fact of life,
Both of those guys have looked the same for 20 years.
Yep. They sure have. Well, maybe minus the hair for
Lashley
Shelton.
more so than Shelton Benjamin.
You know what they say.
That once you go to the Hurt Syndicate, you get hurt.
That might be what they say, yes.
They hurt people as their entrance. Their entrance theme is over as shit too. The entire crowd was just going, they hurt people. We hurt people. The entire crowd was singing it. It was pretty cool to see.
The next match for the AEW Women's World Championship, the Hollywood Ending match. This was a Falls Count Anywhere match. Timeless Toni Storm successfully defended her World Championship by defeating Mariah May in 13 minutes.
Absolutely go fuck yourself, Tony Khan. This should have closed the show. This is a year and a half long story and is the greatest women's story in the history of AEW, up there with the greatest women's stories of all time. And these two women in 12 and a half minutes had a 5-star match in my eyes. They showed up, they showed out in 12 minutes and didn't need to do any more. And they bled all over the place.
They sure did. They sure
did. Do you have any thoughts on that one there, Don? The old AEW Slaughterhouse?
They had a Type A death match in between there.
Man,
in the middle of their match.
I missed this match. I caught the tail end of the pay-per-view. I had other commitments in the evening that night, but I was told about what happened with this, and I watched back the highlights. And this was immediately after I had watched another match, specifically a steel cage match that had happened, and I was just like, I get why they're doing it. I get
it's not
it.
Everyone's cup of tea. That's the whole thing.
It's not even about being everybody's cup of tea, though. It's just overdone. It doesn't mean anything when it happens on every single pay-per-view. Full disclosure, the whole murder scene appearance, that stuff isn't for me, and that's fine. You can say I'm soft. You can say I'm fucking brainwashed by WWE PG content. Whatever. Believe what you want. But the fact of the matter is, when you try and up the ante so many times on so many shows, it just doesn't mean anything anymore. Look at women's wrestling specifically when it comes to these style of matches. The first match I believe that had this would have been Britt Baker and Thunder Rosa in their death match.
Right, the shit out of each other.
They did, and that was the first. And it's hey, that's cool. The women can do it too, even though I'm pretty sure it was on Dynamite that it happened. It was a weekly show.
Event on a Dynamite.
Yeah. And then 3 months later, they had a 6 women, or was it a tag team or a 6 women match on Rampage, and they did the same shit. I believe it was a tag. Was it a tag team? I couldn't remember the exact.
I think it was Penelope Ford and Anna Jay, I think, were in it, and then there's also
the Bunny was in it. I think.
Being honest, I don't remember this, but
It was the Bunny and Ty Conchi or Ty Mello or whatever she went by.
Yeah. And it's like it was the same thing, and it's like, okay. And then you just like you see it. I mean, I'm not even gonna get into the guy in the main event about this, but that guy was bleeding all the time, and it's just so overdone. And when it's so overdone, it doesn't mean anything. Now I will give them credit. They have taken this element away from their weekly television quite a bit, from what I see. They don't Blade on a weekly basis on Dynamite anymore, which is
good.
good. But
Mm.
when you're still having multiple matches a night where it literally looks like a Tarantino film, it's too much. It doesn't mean
I'll
anything.
agree. I'll agree, and I'll say pacing wise for the entire show, maybe move the other match that's like this to the beginning of the show so there's enough space. But I think yeah, they were a bit gratuitous, but for this feud it kind of works. The two of the biggest, their first match, Tony was bleeding, and then the start of the actual feud part of it.
Yeah, the heel
the
turn, the shoe, yeah.
With the shoe, that's what started it, and I mean that's technically what ended it too. And can we say that the visual was also like a mirror of the beginning of their story, with Mariah May being the understudy and nuzzling up to, and I'm gonna do this in timeless Tony Storm's words, her bosom, and it was now the opposite. And there was a beautiful clip at the end of the night with Tony Storm saying, like, I already miss you. I miss you, my love. And it was a beautiful visual at the end of these two women drenched in blood, and just the end on the Titantron. Again, Tony, this should have fucking closed.
This match warranted it. Like, I'm giving a lot of shit for this and just waiting for a couple more matches when I do it all over again. But this feud warranted it. This match specifically, the way the story was written towards it, and the fact that this was the feud ender, this warranted the match that we got. So I don't have a problem with it here. Let me be clear on that.
It had this should have been your first women's main event. This is the greatest women's feud in AEW history. Or either you're gonna.
I mean, when you put it up against like everything else, no, absolutely not. I can't argue.
You can put it up there with the greatest women's stories that have ever been told in wrestling, and it's just in the middle of the card. And I as a fan, it just makes me so angry because they absolutely deserved main event.
Well,
all I'm saying is they better put some respect on Mariah May's fucking name.
We'll have
That's
to see
all
what
I'm gonna
happens
say.
with her next after this, though, because it'll be interesting to see where both land after such a strong feud between the two of each other. And now, whether they keep Mariah May off TV for a little bit and give Tony Storm a little bit more of a run. I don't think Tony Storm should have a long reign as Women's World Champion. I think for the storytelling purposes, it made sense for her to win, but I don't think she should necessarily have another extended run as Women's World Champion.
Double or nothing at the latest.
Now, who that's going to be, we'll have to wait and see. But this match was. This was
I have my guess.
Oh.
Yeah. I don't.
Will that be before or after she beats Athena?
Well, you don't have to. Just believe me when you see it. Just all I'm going to say.
Oh boy,
that's it.
The next match for the AEW International Championship, we have a new champion, and that's Kenny Omega, who defeated Konosuke Takeshita in 28 and a half minutes.
Kenny, by God, Omega.
Kenny, the God, Omega.
The banger of a match.
Entrance. Yeah.
The banger of an entrance, too, literally.
I don't like this theme song as much as his other ones. Like the visual for it and the entrance was like cool. I don't like this theme song as much as Battle Cry. like
Battle Cry or his original NJPW theme is also just fantastic.
But a fucking great match.
Yeah, it started kind of slow, but I think that actually worked out in its favor. It had one of the sickest table bumps I've ever seen.
That was disgusting.
And it worked because of the diverticulitis for Kenny. Yeah, these two are just two of the best wrestlers in the world, if not the best wrestlers in the world. I said it when we were talking about Grand Slam that Kenny Omega is the best wrestler in the world. Somebody else is. Konosuke Takeshita is the best wrestler in the world. It's not hyperbole. Any of them could be the best wrestler in the world. And it just, I mean, this was so well paced. You had the Kenny at one kick out that nobody does better. You know, it just, it's a damn near perfect match, if not a perfect.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great match. I don't know. I can't really add much else to it than that. Brandon, do you have any other?
No, I mean, I feel like finally Kenny getting one over on Konosuke Takeshita because he's lost like 3 straight prior. If I recall correctly.
He lost 2. He got pinned by him twice in a week in 2023, and then he had his year-long layoff due to his diverticulitis.
Oh, so this is their 3rd match.
This is so they had the tag team match, which they won, I think. And then, but they had a 6-man tag. It was the Golden and somebody else versus Takeshita and whoever else at the. And then Takeshita rolled up Kenny, and then this was a mirror. He hit him with the. And that's what.
Pierce, can you just check your mic connection? Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off. I don't know, Brandon. Is it cutting out for you quite a bit too?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, Pierce, just quickly check your mic connection. Well, we'll keep talking, but yeah, these two are 2 of the top guys in professional, not even AEW, in professional wrestling. And as much as shit as I give this company, one of the things I will say is like giving these guys the freedom to put on matches like this, like they really get to show out their abilities. So kudos to both of them. Kenny Omega is the new international champion. We probably have some speculation where that reign ends up headed.
Well, right now they got a tournament for Dynamite. The next couple Dynamites planned, and all that they have is just a couple of matches. The Beast Mordos is facing a wild card, who I'm willing to bet is probably Speedball Mike Bailey.
So there, yeah.
My mic coming in okay now, guys?
Yeah, there's no interference so far since you've come back.
All right, cool. Sorry, listeners, technical difficulties.
All good.
It was Callus. It was the hand or whatever he's called.
Let's
talk about another Callus guy.
Yeah, in the penultimate match of the evening, we had Will Ospreay defeat Kyle Fletcher in a steel cage match in 29 minutes.
Basically just a lights out steel cage match. These guys beat the shit out of each other. Holy crap. It was very gratuitous.
2 matches after you have the Hollywood ending match. You've got these guys fucking beating the shit out of each other, bleeding everywhere, fucking Kyle Fletcher's smearing blood all over his boots, licking blood multiple times in the match. They're doing fucking Spanish flies off the top of the cage. They're getting fucking thumbtacks. They're getting fucking screwdrivers and shit. And it's just like
Kyle Fletcher showing his ass, or Will Ospreay showing Kyle Fletcher's ass.
It's just too much.
Gratuitous.
Too much.
It was gratuitous.
It was too much.
that's onto the pacing of the show. This match probably should have came in the first half and then end with the Hollywood ending. And I don't. And people you probably still, but I think it would have worked out a lot better if they paced it better.
Yeah, just I think one of the points of emphasis I made with the Kenny Omega match and then into this match, the last 3 matches of the show were all basically half an hour. So, and then every match before that was under 20 minutes. Under 20 minutes. Every single one was under 20 minutes. It's just, you could have you could have led the show with Ospreay and Fletcher, get that shit in, and then give that a break before you get to the Timeless Tony Storm and Mariah May match. And
if you took the last 2 matches, put them to the front of the card, start with Fletcher, go to the AEW World Title, and then flipped Omega, Takeshita, and Tony and May, and had those 2 matches close out the show, I think we'd be talking about people saying this is one of the greatest wrestling shows of all time.
But that's not what happened. Instead, what happened was having 2 matches very close together that were just straight up gore porn. And if that's what the sickos want, then kudos to them. Kudos to you, Pierce and whoever else enjoys this kind of shit. But it's too much too soon.
I thought this was a lot. And I still think so. I think this was a fucking phenomenal match.
They're both very talented. Again, please don't let my frustration with
But it's not something that you want to see, and that's completely fine. You preferred the cage match on Monday, and honestly, I thought the cage match on Monday was well.
I mean, that's just straight up storytelling on there. I'm not going to get into too much on that, but
there was a lot of storytelling with what they were doing. The blood on the boots from the first match. The screwdriver's been a part of the callus for a long time.
And then you get tax, and then you get this, and then you get that, and it's just I don't know. Brandon, what do you think?
I mean, it's hard to say because it's all happening at once, right? Like, you said it right. Like, with Tony and Mariah, the blood and the guts, absolutely warranted considering the history and the build and the context, what have you, all that. With Will and Kyle too, it's also gratuitous, yes, but also paradoxically kind of warranted because Kyle and Don both effectively tried to kill Will. I mean, I don't know how many times you do a screwdriver spot in real life and expect it to go the same way without severe injury or death being involved. But I think that's what they were going for. I think that's what the aim was as far as the storytelling goes. So in that respect, now I don't know what makes you want to do a Spanish fly because that can effectively kill you both. If it could just kill you too if you fuck it up right. But this Will Ospreay being Will Ospreay.
The tax, it's just like
tax on the dick.
Yeah,
tax on the dick.
Shout out to Kyle Fletcher. He took those tacks straight to the cock. Like, there's no protecting. Donnie, you may not like it.
I'll try to work on that day.
We should give Kyle Fletcher his flowers because he had to pull tacks out of his actual penis. Like, that's the most painful bump I've ever seen in my life.
Hopefully somebody sent him flowers after that one.
Shout out Kyle Fletcher, you sick motherfucker.
He wants to earn his spot. He's not just a tag team guy, Donnie.
I'm not.
Not just the United Empire.
Both guys are very talented. I've said I actually don't think I've ever said anything negative about Kyle Fletcher on this podcast. Will Ospreay, I have. Despite very clearly acknowledging that he's one of the best wrestlers in the world. I was lucky to see his match in Toronto against Kenny Omega a couple years back. That was, and that's the thing, like when you have like rivalries that warrant like grudge matches, and you see like to that point Will Ospreay versus Kenny Omega, or you see CM Punk versus Seth Rollins, you can tell a phenomenal story in the ring with or without stipulations, that doesn't need what came from this match. I get why they did it. For people who like that kind of match, it was great. I'm sure if this was the only match that was like this on the card, I wouldn't be so critical about it, but it unfortunately wasn't, and that's why
the
I'm giving it a
pacing on the
hard time.
card was fucked. The pacing on the card was fucked by putting those matches so close together.
Well, for the fact of the matter, you had these two feuds which have been building for months, and both had to blow off on the same night around the same time. That was the unfortunate timing of it all. Now, if you could have saved one of those matches for, say, like Dynasty, like push Will and Kyle out to Dynasty, because you could have probably given that a little more gas, just a teensy bit more gas. But I mean, Mariah and Tony had its natural Hollywood ending right where it needed to. We can move on from that. I mean, they're going to do with Will what they're going to do. Like, he's already said he wants to be the top guy. He's gunning for that number one spot. So we can expect to see a lot more, probably, unfortunately, of this from him in 2025, because that's what the fans want, and that's what Tony wants, and that's
what we're going to
more
get.
so what Tony wants. So.
Well, the good news was that was the last match of the night. Nothing else happened after that, right, guys?
Yeah, right. What a great pay-per-view. 7 stars.
Yeah, it just ended with Will Ospreay beating Kyle Fletcher, didn't it, Pierce?
Fuck you, Tony Khan. Fuck you, Mox. Fuck you, Cope.
Unfortunately, the real main event of the evening was
No, the real main event was the Hollywood end. This shit was just the main event of the card.
For the show was Jon Moxley versus Cope versus Christian Cage for the AEW World Championship. Not originally booked that way. Christian Cage did cash in his Casino Gauntlet contract to make it a 3-way match. And, you know, the Death Riders have been getting a lot of shit.
To leave as champion.
The Death Riders have been given a lot of shit. Jon Moxley specifically has been given a lot of shit. And quite frankly, Cope has also been given a lot of shit on this podcast and by the IWC as a whole for a lot of the booking that's happened with him. So what did you guys think should have happened in that case?
You had 4 options to leave as champion, and you picked categorically the worst one. And I'm a Jon Moxley fan. I love Jon Moxley.
That list is getting smaller and smaller by the day with shit like this.
But Death Riders Jon Moxley is categorically the worst Jon Moxley we've ever seen.
Not close.
And it's not close. If Christian would have gotten that pin with his hand on the chest, I don't think we would have been saying this shit. I think we would have been like, great. Because I would be fine with world champion Christian, right?
Even as a short-term thing, where it's like the short-term screw job, then it ends up you get like a match with Cope out of it, and you get some more fuckery. Like it didn't have to be anything
Swerve
significant.
wins the title at Dynasty.
Yeah,
you'd be like, great,
right? Like you didn't have to have anything extended come out of it. And I mean, should Cope have won? No, he shouldn't have. I don't think. I wouldn't have been surprised had he. I did talking about it on this show for a bit that I wouldn't have been shocked.
You could have Jay White steal the contract, sign it, and have Jay White win. And everybody was like, fuck, yeah. But
instead...
It had the most boring, stupid match I've ever seen.
In 26 and a half minutes, Jon Moxley is still the AEW World Championship champion.
Slow as hell. There's no reason for Christian to be passing out when he is the fresh man in the contest. And although I'll say this, it's kind of cool that all 3 members of the Shield within 24 hours of each other. That's kind of interesting, but that's the only thing that I can glean from. And then Bat Swerve ending the show.
Yeah, I have a problem with that too, because it's like you lay an absolute fucking egg, a fucking turd in the middle of the goddamn ring with this main event, and then I guess there's some semblance of self-awareness that you really fucked up by having Jon Moxley win. So you had fucking Swerve go out there just to try and make the crowd go home happy. No, fuck that. That spot could have very easily happened on Dynamite, on Wednesday, or on Collision, or wherever the fuck. It didn't need to happen then. It literally only happened as like some desperate saving grace to fucking Jon Moxley retaining this goddamn title that we don't even know exists anymore because it hasn't been on fucking TV for 6 months. And nobody wants to see this reign anymore. It fucking has sucked since day one. And yet we're still here and we're still trotting it out. And we talked about, I'm going to just finish my little sentence here really quick and then you can go. Sorry. I'm talking about Swerve Strickland, being the guy to beat him. Swerve Strickland is not going to beat Jon Moxley at Dynasty for the title. It's not going to happen. And it sucks.
They have to
but
this experiment somewhere.
It's not a big enough pay-per-view for it to happen. Jon Moxley is going to be very much, that doesn't work for me, brother. And it's not going to happen. So I don't know if we got to fucking drag Darby off the fucking mountain to end this shit or figure something out because this shit fucking sucks. It sucks.
Yeah, as long as Mox keeps selling those sweet Death Rider tees, we're not getting this end of the title reign anytime soon, eh?
Peak of creativity.
I'm just huffing the copium that Swerve goes back-to-back at Dynasty. Simple as that.
I mean, I'd love to see it. I gave Mox the benefit of 30 days with the title reign. I mean, he deflated an entire fucking arena after he beat Danielson, and we've not heard a fucking peep about him since that. Remember, like, he beat Bryan Danielson? It feels like this title reign was so fucking long that it's hard to remember where he even got this shit from. It's hard to even remember he still has it, like you said. Cards are on the day.
When the Death Riders started, there was intrigue because you're like, they're just going to murder people? Okay. And then they just run away from people anytime there's a fucking and nobody gives a shit.
Claudio and Pac, maybe Pac could do it if he put on some fucking pants and a shirt.
They're the fucking trios champions. Let's not forget about that.
When was the last time
Claudio,
were defended?
About a month ago, when they should have lost to the Undisputed Kingdom.
Dude, I don't know what it is. Claudio is not the guy for a Death Rider style gimmick. He's not that believable to me. He's a great wrestler, sure, but he's not like a killer. I mean, same thing. And Pac.
I could believe Pac.
Huh? I could believe Pac too. Yeah, Pac gives off crazy shit vibes, and he's flippy, so I like that.
Doesn't fucking give off any of those goddamn vibes.
Yeah, this bridge troll looking motherfucker.
He kind of looks like just a secret psychopath. But I'm also
young Moses coming off a Mount Sinai looking motherfucker.
And then he opens his mouth, and all thought of that is gone.
You give him a mouthpiece, Yuta would be fine. I'm also a Yuta fan, so
talented wrestler, not the right role for him. Hasn't been the right role for him ever since the beginning of the Blackpool Combat Club, by the way. But we're still fucking here. And Jon Moxley, I'm sorry. Like I took a little bit of thought in my head when you said this is the worst iteration of Jon Moxley because I alluded to this a little bit earlier on the show. Fucking Jon Moxley bleeding every goddamn week against jobbers as the AEW champion. That fucking sucked too. But this shit's the worst. Who even going into this match, no matter where it would have been on the card, who gave a shit about a match between fucking Jon Moxley and Cope in 2025?
Not I, says me. It's so hard, man. His song, the thing about it, and like Cope too is like one of those guys who I feel like they're gonna try and harangue him as like,
I don't mean
he's still over.
I don't mean to interrupt, but next week Jon Moxley's defending the title against Cope in a street fight.
Oh fuck me!
For fuck's sakes!
You talk about guys whose songs are more over than they are. Like, that's a prime fucking example. Now, everyone's singing along with Cope's song now. Now we got to make Cope the champion. And the intrigue is gone. Christian lost his shot at the title. So there's nothing there. Like, if we're just going to give it to Cope and just fucking stack him against Swerve, like, there's no intrigue in that match. That much I can tell you. Or maybe just Mox puts Cope out of his fucking misery. And both Cope and Christian decide they need each other, and they just tag team run to the end of their fucking careers. At this point, that's where I'm at. I hope that's what we get. I just don't want Cope as world heavyweight champion in AEW. Like they catch enough flack as it is, and they're catching flack with like not building stars correctly and hanging on to these talents from WWE who they just let go of a bunch of them. Not just ex WWE guys, but other guys that are worthwhile too. But we talked about that. I just like you guys said, like I just need this Mox shit to be
the
done.
Death Riders experiment. End it.
It's
Simple as that.
Enough's enough. Like, how many people need to come out and say this shit sucks for them to get the fucking clue? Like, I don't know what it is with Tony Khan. Is it because he gives up he allows guys like Moxley and guys like Chris Jericho to have creative control in their contracts, and they're too fucking stubborn to not put whatever goes on in their goddamn skull into the ring.
So
Mox has such a different philosophy about wrestling too.
Danielson losing the title to Mox was a Danielson call. It wasn't a Mox call.
Sure.
But I don't know what... I mean, if they legitimately wait till Darby's back to beat Mox, they will continue to lose viewers. I don't understand. This is one of the worst world title... And that's somebody who's enjoyed the other Mox, but this is fucking terrible.
Makes you wonder if the Kenny Omega reign is like an audible, being like, hey, we're going to be with Mox for a little bit as world champ, and that sucks. But here's Kenny Omega.
The Takeshita reign is probably the best reign of the international title there's been. So
you're not wrong, but Omega's got a little bit more like appeal, though, I guess, as far as like the markets in the States and them go.
I think we've talked about this to death. Let's give a rating for the show.
I give it. I mean, considering I put this main event neck and neck with the Texas Death, or sorry, not the Texas Death Match, the Exploding Barbed Wire Death Match ending back in 2021, also at Revolution, ironically enough, as the two worst endings in AEW history.
This is the worst.
That barbed wire exploding deathmatch shit that could have killed the company.
At least the match before it was good.
But that ending could have killed the company. Like, more than this bullshit could have, technically speaking, at that point where the company was. But I got to give it like an 8. Like, I can't sit here and say that like I think of this compared to Elimination Chamber. Elimination Chamber, I gave a 10 to, right? Because the pacing was good. It did what it needed to do. You got the crazy fucking ending that we did. And I look at this and it's like, the matches were probably better. Yes. As a whole.
Like I said, you move the top 2 matches to the beginning of the show, same way, and move the Hollywood ending to the end. We're talking a 10 out of 10 pay-per-view. But because of the pacing, I'm going to agree with you, Donnie. This is an 8.
And this is a common problem with Tony Khan run pay-per-views is the pacing. It's not, and nothing breathes on these shows, right? Nothing. You have these big impactful moments, and then you immediately cut to the promo for the next match. Nothing's allowed to breathe. Nothing's allowed to
talk about the Queen of the Ring thing.
Oh, I'm not acknowledging that. I
get what she was trying to say, but she just said it terribly.
Yeah, you got to know what your audience is going to interpret when you say something like that. But yeah, 8 out of 10. It's unfortunate because there's a lot of good matches. The blood was too much, but I'm not docking points off of it as much as I would personally like to, because those matches were still good for what they were, just not for me. But that ending fucking sucked. I don't care that Swerve came out to try and bail them out. It fucking sucked. Show gets an 8.
Yeah, I agree. The Bat Swerve is a cool visual, but I just don't give a shit. That's categorically the worst made-up I think I've seen.
Brandon?
8 out of 10.
Yep, 8 out of 10. It's not about how you start, boys. It's about how you finish. And unfortunately, they had a really good head of steam going there and just shut the bed.
Yep.
It legit fell off a fucking cliff.
Mm-hmm.
Well,
on to the next one, eh?
changing gears to a card that didn't necessarily fall off a cliff at the tail end. Last night we had NXT Roadblock, which was out of the theater at Madison Square Garden. Real cool visual associated to this midweek premium weekly show of NXT, I guess you could call it. I don't. It's not a PLE, but it was like a weekly
free.
special. Yeah, a weekly special. I like the setup that they had in that venue. It worked real well for what they were trying to do. And kicked off the show with the. Yeah, I'm gonna let Brandon say it. Brandon, how did they start the show?
Oh God.
Oh, how did they start the show?
Oh my God! Come on,
Brandon, we're giving you the chance to do what you want. Just say it.
What, TNA? Oh, they started us off with Fraxium and the Hardys. I know that damn much.
Yeah, they sure did.
And what title was on the line, Brandon?
Well, obviously the TNA World Tag Team titles as advertised.
Didn't vet putting you on the spot there, but I felt it was appropriate given what was at stake in this match.
Oh, and it won't be the last time either. No, there's going to be a lot of crossover. I'm just curious to see when the first actual title swap is going to happen, like company to company. I'm interested to see what that's going to look like.
We'll have to wait and see for that because it didn't happen during this match. The Hardy Boys defeated Fraxium in 12 minutes. This might very well. I mean, this is again goes towards Nathan Frazier and Axiom. This is the best Hardy Boys match I've seen in quite a long time. And
yeah, I agree.
Yeah, that's because Fraxium is so fucking good that they just make any tag team look good. And obviously the Hardy Boys are legends and first ballot Hall of Famers whenever they want to get around to it. But
looked like Matt Hardy could actually walk and wasn't cockeyed walking as he's been known to do.
Mm.
And Jeff Hardy turned back the clock. So, great match. Good start to the show.
Yeah, damn shame they didn't break the ice and, get Fraxium them belts. But what are they going to plan for Stand and Deliver? This can't be the last time these two face each other.
I wouldn't be surprised.
I think they're going to win.
Yeah, that was an opportunity for them to go for the NXT Championship, something that the Hardy Boys clearly have never had.
Right?
Mm.
Just one more for the resume.
I wouldn't be surprised if the Hardy Boys beat Fraxium again at Stand and Deliver.
Oh, you think they would? Do you think they'd beat him twice in a row?
I do. I don't think Frazier and Axiom have much more to prove on NXT television. I mean, they can be champions forever on that show, and that would be great.
Oh yeah,
because they would just be building every single tag team. But inevitably, they got to lose. Inevitably, they deserve to be on the main roster. And honestly, I think they deserve to be on the main roster as a tag team because they're that good together. Despite being very different characters.
Yeah, but Bubba seemed to give them a vote of confidence.
Why not give the Hardy Boys a moment to get the TNA Tag Team Champions the NXT Tag Team Championships and have that cool moment where it's like the first titles to cross brands, so to speak.
Well, and too, with the Hardys particularly, it'd be a very poetic because you consider just how influential the Hardys were both to TNA and to WWE. Like, the TNA effectively reinvigorated Matt Hardy, raised him from the grave. Stronger than death, Matt Hardy definitely proved that becoming broken in TNA.
Yeah.
And
I think that's
Jeff definitely had some of his strongest work. No, Jeff definitely had some of his strongest work in TNA too, being the Antichrist of professional wrestling. Actually had a pretty solid heel run.
He also had some of his worst work in TNA.
You are absolutely true.
I think
Jeff has proven time and again.
To answer your question there on which one, I think this one logically just makes the most sense. It gives the Hardy Boys titles they've never had. It gives Fraxium a good send off before they deservedly get drafted to the main roster. That's where I would
Sure.
go with it.
Yeah, I think it's solid.
The next match, Jordan Grace defeated Roxanne Perez in 11 and a half minutes.
Yep, she's sewing up all the loose ends, like we were saying.
Yeah.
She has already stated her intention, and she's going up to the main roster. She'll be full-fledged after Mania, but she gets to stand and deliver whatever match she has to finally wrap it up, whether that's Cora, whether that's against Stephanie or whomever. She's wrapping up. And Jordan Grace she's definitely the flag bearer after Rox, and I think this match kind of was the passing of the torch in that respect. So yeah, I think it was the right call. I think Jordan Grace, while I don't know how long she'll be in NXT, I think she's definitely gonna do enough while she's there. Hell, maybe she even gets Stephanie at Stand and Deliver. We'll see. But she's definitely taken up where Rox left off, or will leave off, I should say.
Yeah, I agree.
I don't have much to add. This match was fun. So.
Well, we had Raw after Mania last year. I'm just trying to Google through the matches here. Ilya Dragunov had his debut match on the main roster on the Raw after Mania. So I wouldn't be surprised if they do something similar along those lines for
I miss
Roxanne.
you, Ilya. Get well soon. We miss you.
Yeah. And I mean, Roxanne did have a match on the Raw after Mania last year too, but she beat Indy Hartwell. So
this time it'll be for real.
Yeah. The next match for the NXT Championship, Ope-Eh successfully defended by defeating Moose, 13 and a half minutes.
Moose. Sorry, I just had to say it. He did not win.
And I have something to say.
Man slapping me.
Match fucking ruled, guys. This was so fun. Holy shit.
Yeah.
Two big guys.
Moose has been...
Meat
Go ahead,
slap.
no.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, this just... No, I interrupted you. That was my... No, I just wanted to speak to Moose and his showing in that match. I mean, obviously both men were super fucking impressive, but... And I've shat on Moose being X Division champion, but he was doing a lot of shit that kind of made me second guess, my stance on that a bit. I mean, I think he's been showing out, especially in NXT. I feel like he's been doing a little bit of the high flying, not to say that all Moose can fly, but this guy's certainly an exception. This man's got wings when he wants to. And he definitely stood toe to toe with Oba on power. But I mean, you figure this guy was a lineman for the Patriots at one point in his life, so no surprise there.
Oba's so fucking good, man.
He sure is. He sure is.
He is the future.
Now with the Undertaker stamp of approval.
He's gonna be fucking main eventing Manias before we know it.
Definitely. Before he's 30. Absolutely.
I've said this many times. I'm gonna say it again. Inject Oba versus Gunther into my veins. I need it now. I do not want to wait.
Oba Gunther.
First, we got to do Oba versus Ricky Saints before he gets called up, and then we can go to a Gunther match.
Or Oba Fatu.
Oh yeah, Oba Fatu, please. I need that. I need that more than Oba Gunther. I'm sorry.
No, they're both very solid.
I think Oba probably loses to Javon, I think, before he goes up to the main roster. I don't think it'll be Ricky Saints. But
you think Javon?
I don't think Javon. Javon's going to be in NXT for a couple of years. So
and give him a long reign as champion.
Well, he hasn't even been North American champion just yet either. I don't know. You think he's ready? You think that Bouncy Boy's ready for that big time?
Well, I'll say based on what happened in the New York City street fight where he defeated Ethan Page in 14 minutes and a bit, he could very well.
Is that Ethan Page's swan song, or is he facing Saints before he gets called up?
I see Page probably losing to Saints at Stand and Deliver.
Fine by me.
Unless the only way now that I think about that, Ricky could also beat Sean Spears.
I don't think they're going to give. I said that I'd want to see Ricky beat Oba right away, but they're slow burning it. I mean, I think they know what kind of star they have, and so have him beat an established name in Ethan, and then go on to the title. But this match also ruled. So
I mean, they're both just very good for different reasons. Javon can just do some crazy shit. It's high flyer, but it's certainly a very unique high flyer style compared to most of the other flippy shit you see.
He uses the ring differently than a lot of people do. You don't see a lot of what he does outside of Mexico, I feel.
The guy's like a
I've seen
band. He just seems like he's like if Earthworm Jim was a professional wrestler, it would be Javon.
Earthworm Jim. That's a hell of a reference.
Yeah. That style.
Javon is a wunderkind. He is very successful for his age. He's going to be the next big high flying star, and
without a doubt.
And I'm still on the Ethan Page will main event of WrestleMania kick. So
he's still got a lot of work to do, given the quality of main events we're going to likely be getting over the next few years with the amount of star power.
It'll be like 4 or 5 years, but he will be a world champion within that 4 or 5 years.
That's creeping on 40 though too.
He's got Money in the Bank winner written all over him. Could you imagine him with an MIT briefcase? He'd be so good with it.
I mean, I could, but to Don's point too, think about what WWE is going to be in the next 4 to 5 years on its own. Consider the stars they have now, right? And consider the stars they still have upcoming. It's oh my god, it's ridiculous. It's like the world's biggest mushroom. It's so fucking top heavy.
One thing you said is that he's creeping up on 40. Think of the top of the card right now. It's all 40-year-olds.
Sure.
So
if Ethan plays it safe,
I think he's got all the tools to be a megastar.
He sure does, but I mean, using the word megastar is a bit appropriate in the counter argument that he might not get that opportunity because there's a current megastar that hasn't had that opportunity, despite how good he is.
I'll take that feud right away, please. I need those promos in my veins.
It'd be a lot of fun to see Ethan Page and LA Knight go at it, but that's my point, right? It's just so
before anything, Ethan Page needs to do that CM Punk feud before Punk retires because those promos are going to be fucking phenomenal.
Yeah, they sure will. Main event though, we'll skip ahead before we get too into fantasy booking for Ethan Page. More Canadian. I understand the Canadian content. It's hard not to, but main event for the winner take all match for the NXT Women's Championship and NXT Women's North American Championship.
Not a unification match.
Yes, not a unification. They keep their separate lineages.
Just like at WrestleMania 38, where it was winner take all, not unification.
Shut up, bitch!
Let's
yell at me all you want. Those lineages are still separate.
Tell you what, when I see the Universal title again or ever hear it breathe in any capacity, then I might give you some credence.
Yeah, we'll say that you were right if that's the case. But until then,
off is the direction you can fuck.
There we go. Stephanie Vaquer is your new double champion. She defeated Julia in 11 and a half minutes to close the show.
Man, if Julia's hurt, she could still work a really damn good match.
She sure fucking can.
that reversal from the spiral tap, though, holy shit. That was one of the coolest things I've ever seen in wrestling.
Yeah, these two are absolute stars. These two can very easily main event a WrestleMania if they decide to give the ball to the women at some point. Having only 11 minutes seemed like a letdown almost to what these two could do. Super talented. Hopefully Julia is okay, that she can keep going and have a match at Stand and Deliver. it seems like they're being rushed a little bit. The one thing with the women's division in NXT is that there's so much depth to it that I don't think they need to be here all that long, and maybe that's why they're rushing it. So it's a little disappointing to have the winner take all match here, but I was still sports entertained.
It was
just a weird. It was just not just a weird match and where it was placed, because right, we've got all these matches for free, and like it's right before Stand and Deliver, and if the injury was the reason for it, then I understand that, right? If we don't see Julia at Stand and Deliver, then I guess that's what it is, you know.
Let Chef Michaels cook.
Dude, this happened on a free show.
There have been
between
crazier
two of the
things that have happened on free shows.
I don't know. I just don't. There's something about the two hottest talents in your company or in your brand having a title for title on a free show that happens before the biggest show of your calendar year.
It feels
there's got to be some.
It feels rushed.
Yeah. And there's got to be a reason for it. I don't think it's just a matter of cooking.
More than likely that Julia is hurt, and it's simple as that. And
that's what I'm saying.
I think we see Vaquer work double duty on Stand and Deliver.
She could do it. Now, who they have against her for the North American Championship? Could see Jada Parker in that spot.
Yeah, I don't think she's world title ready yet, but I think
then the question is she going to lose both matches? Is she going to win one of them? Like you got to like she's not going to defend the main title before she defends the North American title. You wouldn't think, but
well, weirder things have happened. Like they had Jay Lethal defend both the world and TV titles when he was in Ring of Honor, and I believe he lost the TV title. I'm just listen. No, this is when it was good.
Mark the time. He brought up ROH or TNA.
Okay, but this is when it was good. To be fair, Jay Lethal's arguably the biggest run, one of the biggest runs in that company. He had a double reign. He lost the title first. I think he lost his TV title first to Roderick Strong, which was weird because why would you challenge for the world title? But I'm just saying, in a broader context, it's not impossible. It's not entirely improbable either.
Hey, Donnie, what's your rating for this show?
It was a solid. It was a solid 8. I would give it an 8. There was nothing bad about it. I mean, it's a weekly show, so I mean, in that sense, you get a lot out of it. But fun matches, expected results. It was a good show. I'll give it an 8.
I gotta give it a 9. Ope-Eh versus Moose just scratched that media itch I needed it to. I'm gonna let that sentence just stay out in the,
Just let it baste.
Brandon, you got a score for it?
I give it a good solid 8.5. I mean, right between where you boys are at, I feel, to keep it diplomatic, but also, obviously, Fraxium brought the best out of the Hardys, and you couldn't expect anything less out of Julia, Steph. Maybe you probably could expect more had Julia not been supposedly injured, and maybe we would have gotten a different result out of it based on that. You know, maybe this is a weird butterfly effect thing of like, what if Julia wasn't hurt? What kind of show would we have gotten going forward? You know, what other things could have resulted from that? But I'm pretty satisfied with what we got. And I'm very interested to see where things go from here.
Oh, yeah. That basically covers our show for this week. We don't really have anything on the calendar for next week, but we got a big blitz of content building up to WrestleMania in just over 5 weeks now.
So, 38 days away, fellas.
Yep. So we'll figure out something fun to put out next week, even if it's just a quick hit, just to don't make you miss us too much. But then we'll be getting into our Rivals episode for WrestleMania's feuds. I think that's what we decided, WrestleMania feuds.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And then
any matches that had multiple that take on multiple manias.
Yep. And then we've got our mashup with JPJ.
Our first ever happy hour.
Yeah, that's the name we went with. We're gonna call it the old happy hour episode. That'll be in 3 weeks. And then from there, we'll probably have plenty of content to cover when it comes to just what's going to happen at Mania and whatnot. So,
and maybe we'll have a week off on the Mania week because we're all gonna be there. But we'll figure it out.
I don't know about that because I think that's probably one of the more important weeks for us to get in our last predictions and stuff. So
We'll figure that out when we get there because I mean you are getting there a little earlier than us, so
it is true. I am, but we can always record a podcast in a hotel room since we would all be there at the same time when I got you in there. So
maybe with a face cam. Maybe that'll be
Maybe.
our first face cam one. I think that'd be a fun one.
maybe.
'Cause I don't think any of us are going to SmackDown. So
No, I
And we're
certainly
doing
won't be
Ope-Eh
going to the Hall of
three-
Fame at that price.
yeah,
Ope-Eh
Hall of
three-way
Fame
in the hotel room, boys.
Oh,
Well, Ope three-way in the hotel room.
Oh boy.
I'm taking us home.
On the note of
Brandon,
note of content, we aren't going to talk about we weren't going to talk about the cage match on Raw. That awesome cage match we had with Punk and Rollins, or are we going to save that for another one?
It was a very good match.
I mean, we had
That was
the
a
OTC.
really great match.
The OTC returned. I brought it up
did.
briefly in talking about Revolution.
The other cage match, and I talked about each member of the Shield using a stomp in 24 hours.
It's true.
Yeah, we did make our illusions. Yeah,
but I will say, I guess if we want to talk about that really quick, we can. I think they did that was the perfect result to justify a triple threat match between the three of them at Mania.
Yep.
It's custody
Roman
of
Reigns
Paul
looking out
Heyman
for
on
his
a pole.
Roman Reigns looking out for his Shield brother, getting Seth the W.
Don't
Good on
think
Roman.
That's what he was doing, Brandon. But this is another one of your head ass takes.
Oh, I'm just being glib. I'm just being glib. That's it. No, Roman's gonna wax that ass at WrestleMania. That much I know for sure.
All right.
Not in the literal sense.
Send us home.
All right. As always, thanks for stopping in the Ope three-way. Have a beer on us. We'll see you next time. Have a great night.